This video is a little bit different than most of them. I think you know that I have an interest in science and other things besides just what you would find around the homestead. This one's about Chandra. Now, it's something like the Hubble Telescope, but it's in the X-ray field. And the money wasn't there to fund it for next year. And so they're talking about shutting the project down. Now, I'm concerned about Chandra, and I'm concerned also what effect it will have on the Hubble Space Telescope. This deserves a good talk about. Hello, anyone. I'm Scott Bain. They call me the Old Farmer. On March 19th, 2024, Dr. Patrick Slane, the director of the Chandra X-ray Center, wrote the following letter. Link in description, and I shall read a portion of it now so you can go down later on and get the whole thing. As many of you are aware, the NASA budget for fiscal year 2025 and beyond was released on March 11th, 2024. And plans for major reductions for Chandra was announced. As described below, these reductions compromise the ability to continue the Chandra mission. The budget document states that the reduction to Chandra will start orderly mission drawdown to minimal operations. NASA has a long existing plan from the Chandra project for activities to be invoked should a mission-ending failure be encountered. These include, among many other items, closeout of the flight operation, final preparation of the data archive and source catalog, final documents of calibration and other products, placing software to repositories, and producing detailed spacecraft and instrument documentation from the mission. The funding levels provided in the new budget plans are consistent with levels for these closeout activities, but lower than can accommodate operation of the Chandra science mission. The minimal operations referred to in the budget document would actually be decommissioning activities. The rationale provided in the budget language is the Chandra spacecraft has been degrading over its mission lifetime to the extent that several systems require active management to keep temperatures within acceptable ranges for spacecraft operations. This makes scheduling and the post-processing of data more complex, increasing mission management costs beyond what NASA can currently afford. The complete letter is linked below in the description. It must be stated that this budget cut affects the Chandra mission, not the Hubble telescope, but it would not be surprising if in the near future budgets, Hubble would be also a casualty to budget cuts. I believe in the most strongest amount that Chandra should be saved and both telescopes be scheduled for maintenance and updating. I believe there are two feasible approaches to such efforts. The first is how Hubble was upgraded during some of the last space shuttle flights. That is, with involvement of SpaceX or a similar private enterprise, a manned mission to both telescopes, either be a single mission or two separate efforts. Fly to the telescopes and perform the needed maintenance and upgrades. I would hope after completing the needed activities that the telescopes be placed in a higher orbit to protect against degradation of the orbits. The second concept is to use automated space vehicles that would retrieve the space telescopes and bring them back down to the International Space Station for such work that should be necessary along with upgrades. Then, by the same method as used in the retrieval, placed again in a higher orbit than the telescopes had been before being brought to the space station. Granted, there will be future space telescopes that will provide important information, But in the case of Chandra, there will be no space telescopes in the X-ray band in space. This would blind us in a part of the spectrum for about a decade or more. But as both telescopes, Chandra and Hubble, are superseded in abilities, lesser programs could be assigned to these telescopes, possibly even allowing high school students to perform some scientific quest. There will always be more projects that could be assigned than openings that are available. The more we reach our gaze outward, the more we understand about our world and its inhabitants. We don't always need the latest and the best to do experiments. If you remember back in your high school days, for the adults watching this, the experiments that were performed were quite primitive compared to what the leading scientists were doing. Yet these were important experiments for learning. The same can be true for our space-based telescopes. Some experiments can only be performed using such equipment. The atmosphere blocks many things and makes them invisible to ground-based telescopes. So I strongly urge that we voice our approval for saving the Chandra telescope and strongly urge a program that will upgrade both Chandra and Hubble to be the best that technology can give these tools. There is a link in the description. I'm adding your support in saving Chandra. It carefully lists your options and goes into detail, as well as giving you a petition to sign if you wish. Sometimes citizens need to take an active part in the decisions Congress makes. This is one of those times. Thank you for watching, and please be safe. We'd sure appreciate it if you could subscribe and leave a comment. You know how YouTube behaves. They won't believe you watched a video unless you leave a comment. Also, it would help if you ring the bell and do a thumbs up. As you know, if I find a good channel, I pass it on to you. So if you think it's appropriate, it would sure help if you passed us on to your closest 10,000 friends and family. But above all, give a helping hand to someone today. It's the best gift to give. It'll make you feel good too.
Don't forget to click like, subscribe, share, or ring the bell buttons on the Original Old Farmer channel. We enjoy reading the comments that you leave, and they do help the channel, so keep them coming. And once again, thank you for watching The Original Old Farmer.
The VFW National Home for Children, providing families of veterans and active duty military opportunities for growth and development in a nurturing community. Please consider a donation to help their children and families. I.C. Rhodes speaking.